Hi, I am finally trying to get myself together with the technology, and I am no technology guru, to show you how to make the mechanism for the twist and pop card. I'm going to work from my instructions, so if you don't have a copy, ask me, but if you were in class, you would have got a copy. So I don't know how long this will record for, so I'm going to work quickly. You will need 2 sheets of A4 cardstock to make the mechanism itself, and you will need another sheet to cut down for the actual card itself. So I'm going to begin with the card. It's an A4 sheet. I'm going to put it onto 10.5 centimetres and cut it down in the portrait position, and that gives you your card mechanism. You can then come in, turn it to 10.5, close it up, and sorry, not 10.5, 14.9. So let me just write this down so that you don't forget. So it is half an A4, and then you score, can't read my own writing, at 14.9, and that will give you the fold. Now, or you can also use your scoring tool there if you want to. Now, always when you're folding, you've scored in that position, fold away from there, and that gives you your score. So that's your outside, put that aside. Now, we're going to take a sheet of white, whisper white A4, and we're going to trim that down. Just make sure you can actually see that. Trying to work this. We're going to trim that down to 29 centimetres. So putting it up into your trimmer, bring it across to the 29. I'm hoping you can see that. 29 centimetres, and trim. That's that bit done. So the next thing you're going to need to do is to score it in half at 14.5 centimetres. So once again, move it up to your 14.5. I'm going to do it with the scoring tool this time. Just needs gentle pressure on that. You don't need to do too much, just gives you that score line. Then we're going to turn it into the landscape, the portrait position, and we are going to make a cut. We're going to cut out the 4 sections. We're going to do this. So this is how we do that. We're going to measure along at 5.5 centimetres along the top. Make sure you pat your cardstocks nice and straight in there, and then close this down, and you're going to, oops, let's get our blades up first. We're going to score down to the 11. So score down, cut rather, down to the 11, and then lift, go to the bottom and score up to 18. Turn it over and repeat. So 5.5 is your width, and 11 centimetres is your depth. So 11, right down to the bottom, come up to 18. And then we're going to flip it around again, and we're going to mark it now at 11 centimetres. Hard to see with the phone right in front of me. And then we're going to just cut down until we hit that 5.5 mark. You'll feel the blade when it hits, and then you can just come up from the bottom, and that's at 16.5 from the bottom. And then those 2 pieces, oops, didn't quite get that one right. Lift it off a bit, sorry about that. Let me see if I can just get this. That's better. Okay, keep these pieces, they'll be handy for something else. Then you just turn it over, and then we're going to go again on the other side. So bring this into 11. Oops. And just cut up to the score line, to the cut line, and cut down to the cut line. And that's essentially the cutting done. So you have this piece with a score line across the centre. Right, let's move this aside for now. I'll grab the ruler. where your ruler and pencil come in handy. So you're going to now put a pencil mark at the 1.5 on. You might not be able to see that against the white. I'll do it on here. So you're coming in 1.5 centimetres from this corner. So we put our ruler at 1.5. And just make a small pencil mark there. And then you come in here and do it at 10. Flip it over. And do the same thing. 1.5. Remember, we're measuring out from the corner. If I've cut it straight, if you haven't cut it quite straight, like I haven't, you'll get a slight variant, but it'll all work out in the wash. And then at 10. Okay. Now, we'll bring back the our trimmer. Then what we're going to do is we're going to run a score line from this point to this point, and then from this point to this point, so that we get a crisscross fold. So line it up so that you can see your score there, your mark there, and your mark there. Make sure that the actual outer edge of the card is right in that trough of your trimmer. You don't want the blade, you want the scoring tool. So there we go, that's that one. Then turn and do the same again on the other side. Okay, now here's where we get to make the mechanism. So we're going to fold this where the pencil marks are. We're going to make a mountain fold. So just fold that away from yourself like so. And then you can come in with your bone folder, which I've put mine down and can't locate. Just come in with your bone folder, make a nice crisp curve. Now the next thing I do here is I take my scissors and I just trim a small section off here. Doesn't have to be great, it's just a few millimeters. Trim right up into that corner, but don't go past that corner. That's good. Flip it over, do the same thing. Really picked my worst scissors to do this with. Okay, that's good. Okay, now that we've done that, we can open that out. And now we're folding the opposite way with those cross lines. So the opposite way to the halfway score line, we're going to fold it back the other way. Turn and go again. And you've pretty much made your mechanism at this point. So we can actually crisp those up nicely, which I should have done. Now what happens is you go like so. Got it out like that, push it together, bingo, and there you have it. That's essentially your mechanism. So once you've got it like that, just like to make sure everything's square. So just line things up, because you know it's not an exact science. And then hold that really firmly at that end and bring your bone folder along and just drag it up. If anything's been slightly skew, if that will help sort it out. That is essentially the mechanism for popping out of the card. Now, your second sheet of paper needs to be taken and cut at, let me see, make sure I get this right. We need to cut this one down. It's an A4 sheet again. So that needs to be cut down to 28 centimetres. Not 29 like the last one. Oops, scored it. And then we cut a 7 centimetre strip down the length of it. 7, I'll do a few of those because we'll get 3 of these. You only need 1, but you get 3 out of the one sheet. So essentially, there you go. That's the pop out mechanism. So now how to put it all together. Right. Taking the mechanism again, you can use tape or you can use Tombow. I'm going to use Tombow, and I told you to fold that the wrong way. I should have said the other way, but it doesn't matter. We can just rub those marks out, but I'm not going to now for the sake of time. You can either apply tape or use Tombow. You're only needing to do the diagonals here and here. You don't want it anywhere else. Doesn't matter whether you go this way or this way, it just has to be diagonal. So get your glue. If you're using Tombow, don't go nuts with it. Come to your line. You don't want it to ooze out once you have it. So do one side at a time. I should have told you to fold this strip in half. In half and score. And then, sorry, I'll just put this aside. So this is how you deal with this one. In half and score. And fold it back on itself. Score again. And then turn it over, fold it back on itself. So essentially it's mountain valley kind of folding. So that you have a mechanism that looks like that. So then what we do, we're coming back here now. We have our adhesive on this part. So I line it up on my grid paper or on your mat or something with a rule on it. And I get that center score line right along my line there. And then I take this piece here, fold it in half, and I line it up so that it's central between these 2 points. And it needs to come right to the middle of that fold there. Now, because you've got your grid lines there, it gives you some idea as to whether you're straight or not. And when you think you've got it right, you just put it down. Now, if you're using tape, you could lift it up straight away. Because I'm using Tombow, it'll take just a second or two to go off. Right, now, so my glue is on this top side. So that means my next lot has to go down here. So here we go, diagonal. Remember, you have to think diagonal when you're sticking these on. And that should be sufficient. And then you just simply open it out. And pop it down on there until it goes off. Give it a couple of seconds. Then we're going to fold this one up in the middle. And you'll find the whole mechanism will just come nicely closed for you. Oops, I should have left that longer. I'm in a rush on the video and it hasn't quite gone off. Just give that a second. Okay, we're going to fold this one back up again, and we'll need to get that all sorted out properly with a scorer later, bone fold later. So holding it this way, right, put your fingers underneath these things, hands on the outside edge, and just simply fold the mechanism, and then give it a good crease again. Close the mechanism down, and essentially that's that. And then I come back once more, line it up, make sure it's all nice, and there it is. That's ready for you to decorate or do whatever you want with in the next stage of the card. So now I'll show you how to put it into the card itself, and I'll do a different video on how to decorate. Now, in my instructions I've said that you can use Tombow or you can use adhesive. I really like Tombow myself. If you're using Tombow, this is kind of how you apply it. Remember, don't go right to the edges because you really don't want any ooze. So I put plenty in there because that's a fairly important part. Come around to your edges. And obviously you're only going to be gluing one side at a time for this, and that's sufficient. Spread it around if it's a bit lumpy. Cool. Now, bring in your card, which is already pre-scored. Make sure you're happy with how it has lined up. Mine's not 100% perfect, so I'm going to do that same trick of running the scorer over it to make sure it's right. Now I'm happy. Open up your card. And this is why I like Tombow, because it gives you a minute to play. So line it up so that the point is at that crease. Make sure it's straight on your card. And by not going right to the edges, it gives you a little play time. Pick this up like so and push up into it. And then close the card down. Then all you have to do is repeat with the glue on this side Now if you're using tape, as I said, you can do it straight away. You just don't get that manoeuvring time. Once it's stuck, so you need to line it up really, really well. So Hombo is not an expensive purchase. If you don't have any, let me know and I can get you some in very, very quickly. Okay, that's pretty much that. And then we just close the card down on top of it. Give that a few minutes to dry. And when you open it up, the magic happens. All ready for you to decorate. I'll do another video on decorating, but I will tell you that it would be a good idea if you're going to do these to just make the mechanism. Don't put this panel on until you know exactly how you are going to decorate it, because in some cases we will put little small panels in here that we have decorated. But in others, you can just decorate that panel before you fold it, and then just put it on, and you don't need to do anything else. We did 2 cards in class. One was done one way, one was done the other. Just hang on, I'll see if I can find the card to show you. And that disappeared. Okay, I'll put it up in the next video. Yeah, so one of them we stamped directly to the other one we put the panels on. You can add, you know, designer series paper strips or whatever. I will show you some decorating ideas in the next video. But anyway, if you don't have a copy of my instructions, then give me a yell. I've got them in a PDF form and I can email them to you, which, along with the video, should kind of help you figure out how to do that. Anyway, hopefully now I can upload this to a private YouTube channel. Bye.